The sun was setting over the city of New Haven, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. People were getting ready for the evening, unaware of the danger that lurked above. Suddenly, the peaceful sky was shattered by a loud roar. Alien ships, dark and menacing, descended from the clouds. Panic spread like wildfire as the first beams of light shot down, striking the ground with a deafening explosion. In the heart of the chaos, Sarah, a young woman with fiery determination, ran through the streets. She had just finished her shift at the hospital when she heard the alarms. People were screaming, and the air was thick with dust and smoke. Sarah's heart raced as she searched for her younger brother, Alex. He was only 8 years old, and she promised their mother to always keep him safe. "Alex, where are you?" she shouted, pushing through the crowd. Her eyes scanned the terrified faces of neighbors and strangers alike. The once busy street had turned into a scene of horror. Buildings crumbled, and cars were overturned. The sky was filled with debris and fire. In a nearby building, a group of survivors huddled together. Among them was Captain Mark Reynolds, a decorated military officer. He had seen many battles, but nothing like this. His blue eyes hardened as he watched the alien ships wreak havoc. "We need to organize ourselves," he said, raising his voice above the chaos. "We can't let fear control us." The survivors nodded, their faces etched with worry but also a flicker of hope. Captain Reynolds took charge. "Gather all the weapons and supplies you can find. We need to fight back!" His commanding presence inspired the group to take action. They quickly collected makeshift weapons, anything they could use against the aliens. As Sarah continued her frantic search for Alex, she stumbled upon the group led by Captain Reynolds. "Have you seen a little boy? He's got dark hair and wears a blue t-shirt," she pleaded, desperation lacing her voice. "I'm sorry, I haven't," Reynolds replied, his brow furrowing with concern. "But we need every pair of hands. You can help us prepare for a fight. We can't just wait for them to destroy everything." Reluctantly, Sarah nodded. "Okay, but I need to find my brother first." The captain understood her pain. "Then let's look for him together." They moved through the wreckage, calling out for Alex. Just then, an explosion rocked the ground nearby, sending a shockwave through the air. Sarah fell to her knees, fear gripping her heart. "Alex!" she cried out, her voice breaking. "Stay calm, we'll find him!" Reynolds shouted, but deep down he felt the weight of the situation. He had trained for battles, but this felt different. The aliens were ruthless, and their technology was far beyond anything humanity had ever encountered. As they searched, the aliens continued their assault. Soldiers in strange armor emerged from the ships, their eyes glowing with a fierce light. They began to capture anyone who dared to resist. Sarah felt a wave of anger rise within her. She couldn't stand by and let them take her home. "We have to fight back," she urged. Reynolds nodded, realizing that every second counted. "Let's gather everyone we can. We need to form a plan." They rushed back to the survivors, who were now armed and ready for action. The group had grown stronger, united by their shared fear and anger. "Listen up!" Reynolds shouted, drawing everyone's attention. "We may be outnumbered, but we are not powerless. We can fight for our home and our families." The crowd erupted in cheers, fueled by a new sense of purpose. As they prepared for battle, Sarah felt a surge of determination. She would not let the aliens win. She had to find Alex, and together they would stand against the darkness threatening to consume their world. With a fierce spirit, she joined the ranks, ready to face whatever came next. The first battle for humanity was about to begin, and as the sun dipped below the horizon, a new fire ignited in their hearts. They were no longer just survivors, they were fighters, united by a common cause to reclaim their world and seek vengeance against those who had brought them to the brink of despair. The sun rose over the ruins of New Haven, casting a soft light on the destruction left by the alien attack. Smoke still curled from the buildings, and the sounds of distant explosions echoed in the air. Captain Mark Reynolds and Sarah stood among the survivors, their faces smudged with dirt and their eyes filled with determination. They knew they needed help if they were to take back their city and defeat the aliens. "Captain, we can't do this alone," Sarah said, her voice steady despite the chaos around them. "We need to find other groups. There must be more survivors out there." Reynolds nodded, his mind racing with possibilities. "You're right. We need to reach out to other survivors and form alliances. Alone, we are weak, but together, we can fight back." With a plan in mind, Reynolds gathered the group. Listen up, everyone! We need to find allies. There are others out there, hiding and struggling just like us. We will split into teams to search the surrounding areas. Remember, stay safe and keep an eye out for anyone who needs help. The survivors nodded, a mix of fear and hope on their faces. They had lost so much, but the idea of fighting back united them. Reynolds formed small groups, and each team set out in different directions, searching for other survivors. Sarah teamed up with a tough-looking woman named Lena and a quiet but resourceful man named David. They decided to head towards the outskirts of the city, where they had heard rumors of a group of rebels. As they walked, the trio stayed alert, eyes scanning the deserted streets for signs of life. "What if we find more aliens?" Lena asked, her voice shaky. "What if they attack us again?" "We can handle it," Sarah replied, her voice firm. "We've already faced them once. We just need to stick together and stay smart." As they moved cautiously through the wreckage, they stumbled upon an old community center. The building looked abandoned, but Sarah felt a flicker of hope. "Let's check inside. There might be people hiding." The three of them entered the building. Inside, they found a dimly lit room filled with dusty tables and chairs. As they called out, a group of frightened people emerged from the shadows. Their faces were filled with relief, but also fear. "We thought we were the only ones left," one man exclaimed, stepping forward. Sarah introduced herself and explained their mission. "We're looking for allies to fight back against the aliens. We can't do this alone." The group looked uncertain, but Reynolds' words echoed in Sarah's mind. "United, we can fight back." After a moment of silence, an older woman stepped forward. "We have lost so much, but if we can band together, we have a chance. I will join you." The others nodded, and soon they had formed a larger group, united by a common goal. With their numbers growing, Sarah and her new allies decided to search for even more survivors. They moved through the streets, calling out and looking for anyone in need. As they traveled, they encountered small groups of people hiding and living in fear. Each time they shared their plan and invited them to join the fight. One day, they reached a high school that had been turned into a makeshift shelter. The place was crowded with people, many looking lost and scared. Sarah stepped forward, addressing the crowd. "We are fighting back against the aliens. Join us! Together we can reclaim our city." Some faces were skeptical, but a brave young man named Jake stepped forward. "I've seen what those aliens can do. I lost my family. I want to fight!" His words inspired others, and soon the crowd began to murmur in agreement. As more people joined their cause, Sarah felt a growing sense of hope. The group now included families, soldiers, and even kids, all united by their desire to fight back. They worked together to gather supplies, weapons, and information about the aliens. Captain Reynolds received news from another team that had found a cache of alien weapons. "This could change everything," he said, his eyes sparkling with determination. "With these weapons, we can hit back harder than ever before." As their numbers swelled and their spirits lifted, Sarah realized they had become more than just survivors. They were a community, a force ready to fight for their future. The fear that once gripped them was slowly being replaced by a burning desire for vengeance. In the days that followed, the newly formed alliance trained together, sharing skills and strategies. They forged bonds and friendships, knowing that every moment brought them closer to their ultimate goal, to reclaim their home and make the aliens pay for their destruction. With renewed strength and purpose, they prepared for the battles ahead, ready to face the darkness with the light of unity and determination. The fight for humanity had just begun, and together they would not back down. The day of the first battle had arrived. The air was thick with tension as Captain Mark Reynolds and Sarah stood with their united group of survivors, now a small army. They had trained hard over the past few days, learning to use the alien weapons and improving their fighting skills. Hope flickered in their eyes, but fear was also present. They were about to face the enemy that had brought so much destruction to their lives. "We're ready," Sarah said, her voice steady. The sun rose, casting golden rays over the gathering crowd, illuminating the determination on their faces. "We can do this. Remember why we fight." Reynolds nodded, rallying the troops. "Today, we take back what is ours. We've lost so much, but together we are strong. Let's show them what humans are made of." As the group moved out, they felt the weight of their mission. The target was a small alien base located just outside the city, a place where they believed the aliens were regrouping and planning further attacks. With each step, their hearts raced in anticipation of the battle ahead. They reached the outskirts of the city where the alien base loomed before them. It was a towering structure, dark and intimidating, surrounded by strange machines and armed aliens patrolling the area. The sight made some of the survivors gulp, but Reynolds pushed forward. "Stick to the plan! We attack quickly and hit them hard!" The group split into smaller teams, ready to flank the base from different angles. Sarah, Lena, and David were part of the team that would approach from the left side. As they moved closer, they could hear the alien soldiers communicating in their harsh language. Sarah's heart pounded in her chest, but she forced herself to focus. "Remember the training," Lena whispered, her grip tightening on her weapon. "Stay calm and follow my lead." As they reached their positions, Reynolds signaled for the attack. "Now!" he shouted. In an instant, chaos erupted. Explosions rocked the ground as the survivors opened fire on the alien guards. The loud blasts and flashes of light filled the air. Sarah felt adrenaline rush through her veins. She aimed her weapon, focusing on the nearest alien. Her hands trembled slightly, but she steadied her breath. With a quick pull of the trigger, she hit her target, and the alien soldier fell. A surge of victory coursed through her, but there was no time to celebrate. The aliens quickly responded, firing back with their advanced weapons. Sarah ducked behind a pile of rubble, heart racing. "We need to move!" she shouted to Lena and David. They nodded and sprinted toward a new position, trying to find cover. The battle was fierce. Explosions rang out all around them, and the ground shook with the force of the blasts. The survivors fought bravely, but the aliens were strong and well prepared. Sarah saw one of their own soldiers fall, and a wave of panic threatened to overwhelm her. But then she remembered Reynolds' words. Together, we are strong. They regrouped and pushed forward, fighting with everything they had. Each member of the team played a crucial role, working in unison. David used his quick thinking to direct the fire, shouting commands to keep the group organized amidst the chaos. "Left flank! Cover the right!" Lena showed incredible bravery, charging forward to take out an alien soldier that had positioned itself on higher ground. She climbed a pile of debris and shot down at the enemy, her courage inspiring the others to fight harder. "We can do this!" she yelled, and her words sparked a renewed energy in the group. As the battle raged on, Reynolds noticed that their coordinated efforts were beginning to pay off. They were pushing the aliens back, gaining ground little by little. "Keep fighting! We can't let up now," he called, rallying the troops. Finally, the moment came when they breached the main entrance of the base. The survivors flooded inside, and chaos erupted anew. They fought fiercely, determined to reclaim what was theirs. Inside, they found strange technology and more alien soldiers, but nothing could stop the fire that burned within them. With a final surge of strength, they overwhelmed the remaining aliens. The last enemy fell, and silence enveloped the base. Breathing heavily, Sarah and her comrades looked around, disbelief flooding their minds. They had done it. They had won their first battle. Cheers erupted among the survivors. They hugged, laughed, and celebrated their victory, their spirits soaring. In that moment, they realized they were not just survivors, they were warriors. They had fought back against their oppressors and emerged victorious. As they surveyed the remnants of the alien base, a sense of pride filled their hearts. This was just the beginning of their fight, but they had taken the first step. United in purpose, they were ready for whatever lay ahead. The journey for revenge had begun, and they would face it together, stronger than ever before. The survivors gathered at their new base, the once imposing alien structure now a symbol of their first victory. The atmosphere buzzed with excitement and energy as they celebrated their success. Captain Mark Reynolds stood at the front, his heart swelling with pride as he looked at the faces of his people, filled with determination and hope. "Today we fought like warriors!" he shouted, raising his arms to quiet the crowd. "We took back a part of our home. But this is just the beginning. We must have a big plan if we want to push the aliens out for good." Sarah stood beside Reynolds, her heart pounding with anticipation. She felt the weight of their next steps pressing down on her, but she was ready. "What do we do now?" she asked, eager to contribute. Reynolds looked around the room. "We need to gather intelligence. We need to know where the aliens are coming from, their numbers, and what weapons they have. We can't just attack blindly. We have to be smart about this," the group murmured in agreement. They understood that this victory was important, but they needed more information to build a successful plan. "Let's divide into teams," Reynolds suggested. "Some of us will scout for more survivors and resources, while others will work on gathering information about the alien forces. We need to find their weak points." Lena stepped forward, her face serious. "I volunteer to lead a scouting team. We should also look for any advanced weapons or technology that we can use against them." Her determination inspired others, and several members volunteered to join her. Meanwhile, David raised his hand. "I can work on communications. I'll see if I can hack into their systems and listen to their transmissions. It might give us an edge." The group nodded, appreciating his skills. With the teams formed, Reynolds laid out the next steps. "Let's meet back here in 3 days. In the meantime, we'll prepare for our next big move." The survivors dispersed, each one energized and focused on their tasks. In the following days, the group worked tirelessly. The scouting team, led by Lena, ventured into the nearby ruins, searching for survivors. They moved cautiously, always aware of the potential threat from the aliens. Their efforts paid off when they discovered a small group hiding in a subway tunnel. These survivors were terrified but eager to join the fight. "More allies mean more strength," Lena told her team. "Every person counts." They welcomed the newcomers, ensuring they felt safe and ready to join the cause. Meanwhile, David worked hard to decode alien transmissions. After hours of listening, he finally caught a break. "I've got something!" he shouted, his eyes wide with excitement. The room fell silent as he played the audio. The harsh, guttural sounds of the aliens filled the air, and David quickly translated. "They're planning to launch a major attack on a nearby city in just a few days." The news spread like wildfire through the group, igniting a sense of urgency. "We can't let that happen!" Sarah exclaimed, her mind racing. "If we warn the city, we can save lives and show the aliens that we won't back down." Reynolds nodded, recognizing the importance of their next move. "We need to prepare a counterattack. If we can intercept them before they reach the city, we can catch them off guard. This is our chance to show them we are not weak." With the plan in place, the survivors sprang into action. They gathered supplies, weapons, and intelligence, readying themselves for the battle ahead. Each member felt the thrill of purpose as they prepared for their biggest challenge yet. They were no longer just a group of frightened individuals. They were an army united by a shared goal. As night fell, they set up camp at the edge of the city, strategically positioned to ambush the aliens. The air was filled with the sounds of chatter and the clinking of weapons. Sarah moved among her fellow survivors, checking in with them. She saw the determination in their eyes and felt a surge of hope. "Tomorrow is the day we show the aliens who they are dealing with," she said, her voice steady. "We are not afraid." Reynolds gathered everyone around a fire, his voice firm. "We may face great danger, but we have each other. Together, we are stronger than they can ever understand. Let's get some rest. We need to be ready for tomorrow." As the stars twinkled above, the group settled in, their minds racing with thoughts of the battle ahead. Each person understood the stakes. They were fighting for their lives, their homes, and their future. They had come together as a family, and now they were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. With hearts full of courage and minds set on victory, they prepared for the battle that would change everything. The time for vengeance was drawing near, and they would not back down. The dawn of the final showdown broke over the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and red. The air was thick with tension as Captain Mark Reynolds and his group of survivors gathered at their makeshift camp. They had trained and prepared for this moment, knowing that today they would face the aliens in a battle that would determine the fate of their city and perhaps the entire planet. As the sun rose, illuminating their determined faces, Reynolds stood before his people, his heart pounding, with pride and anticipation. "Today we show the aliens what humans can do when we unite," he shouted, his voice echoing across the field. "This is our chance to take back our home and protect those we love. Let's make this fight count." The survivors cheered, their spirits lifted by Reynolds's words. Each one knew the risks, but they also knew they were no longer alone. They had become a family fighting for a common cause. Sarah looked around at her comrades, feeling the strength of their unity. They were ready. The plan was simple but effective. They would ambush the aliens as they approached the city, using the element of surprise to their advantage. Lena and David had worked together to set up traps along the route, and now all they had to do was wait. Hours passed as they remained hidden, adrenaline pumping through their veins. The distant rumble of alien machines grew louder, signaling that the enemy was nearing. Sarah's heart raced. This was it. She could see the alien convoy in the distance, a line of ominous vehicles carrying soldiers ready to wreak havoc. "Get ready!" Reynolds whispered urgently, his eyes fixed on the approaching threat. The survivors held their breath, gripping their weapons tightly as they prepared for the moment of attack. As the aliens came closer, Reynolds raised his hand. "Now!" he shouted. The ambush sprang to life. Explosions rocked the ground as hidden traps detonated, sending debris flying into the air. The aliens were caught off guard, their formation breaking as chaos erupted around them. Sarah and her comrades leaped into action, firing their weapons with precision. She focused on one alien soldier, remembering the training they had undergone. With a deep breath, she pulled the trigger, feeling a surge of empowerment as her shot found its mark. "We can do this!" she yelled, rallying her teammates. The battle raged on, loud and chaotic. The sound of gunfire mixed with alien shrieks filled the air, creating a cacophony of noise. Reynolds led the charge, his presence commanding as he pushed forward, guiding his group through the fray. They were fighting not just for survival, but for their dignity and freedom. But the aliens fought back fiercely. Their advanced weapons were deadly, and the survivors faced tremendous challenges. David was knocked to the ground by an explosion, but he quickly scrambled back to his feet, determined to continue fighting. "I'm fine!" he shouted, barely able to hear himself over the chaos. The survivors pressed on, fueled by the hope of victory. They fought valiantly, taking down alien soldiers one by one. Lena showcased her bravery, climbing atop a nearby vehicle to gain a better vantage point. "We can turn the tide!" she cried, her voice rising above the din. "Keep pushing forward!" As the battle reached its peak, Reynolds noticed that they were gaining ground. The aliens were starting to falter, their formation crumbling under the relentless pressure of the human fighters. "We're almost there," he urged, his voice strong. "Keep fighting! Don't let up!" Just then, the leader of the alien force stepped forward, a towering figure clad in dark armor. He bellowed orders in his harsh language, rallying his troops for a final push. The sight sent a shiver down Sarah's spine, but she quickly shook off her fear. This was not the time to falter. With a determined look, Reynolds called for one last push. "We finish this together!" he shouted. The survivors, exhausted but filled with a sense of purpose, charged forward as one. They pushed through the ranks of aliens, their spirits ignited by the prospect of victory. The clash reached its climax as Reynolds and Sarah found themselves face to face with the alien leader. He towered over them, his eyes burning with fury. But they stood firm, ready to fight for their future. "This is our home!" Sarah yelled, her voice echoing with defiance. In a fierce exchange, they fought with everything they had. Sarah dodged the aliens' blows, feeling adrenaline surge through her. She swung her weapon with all her strength, landing a decisive hit. The alien leader staggered back, disbelief etched on his face. With one final strike, Reynolds and Sarah worked together to take him down. The alien leader fell to the ground and silence swept across the battlefield. The remaining alien soldiers, witnessing the defeat of their leader, hesitated, and one by one they began to retreat. Cheers erupted among the survivors as victory washed over them. They had fought against overwhelming odds and emerged triumphant. Together they had faced their fears and reclaimed their home. As they stood amidst the remnants of the battle, they felt a sense of unity and strength like never before. They had faced the ultimate challenge and had proven that humans would not back down. The fight for their future was just beginning, but today they had won a hard-fought victory. Together, they would face whatever came next.